Hi, guys, and welcome back to the Life After Debt podcast. My name is Amber, and today I'm going to be sharing with you something that I feel is a common denominator for most individuals who call me in debt, and that is their desire to keep up with the Joneses. So today I'm going to share with you who are the Joneses, anyways, and why do we desire so much to live, spend, and look like the Joneses? So, for most of us, I know for myself, I always heard my parents say that, well, you're just trying to keep up with the Joneses. And I always wondered, like, well, who is this family that everybody is striving to be like? Well, the truth be told, that was a common surname back in the 1900s. And so anybody, a generic family of neighbors, was looked at and communicated as the Joneses. And so the concept being that it's one that likes to insinuate, or the theory insinuates that individuals have a couple they look at or individual they look at, and they strive to be like those people. So really, they begin to emulate everything and spend as if they are them. While this is really flattering to the Jones, the idea of this brings about a lot of negative effects. And I know it has in my life before, and I'm sure it has in many other listeners who are listening and watching. So I thought it would be helpful for me to give you 5 signs that indicate you're trying to keep up with the Joneses and share what each is actually costing you, not the Jones. When I think about this in my own life, there were seasons, and probably the most memorable season that I can recall this is when Ryan and I had filed bankruptcy. And so, as you can imagine, we had been highly successful in the mortgage business and took pride in the fact that we had built this incredible portfolio of rental properties. We had from the outside what looked like everything together. But on the inside, when the mortgage industry crashed in 2008, we then looked at each other as if, okay, well, this is our reality. What are we going to do? And while we tried to figure it out for a year, I think what happened eventually to us is we had to get real with ourselves first and foremost, which is, hey, we can't keep robbing Peter to pay Paul to hold on to these properties when the truth is we're broke. And so I can remember vividly, we were out to dinner, we got invited to dinner. And I can remember Ryan telling this person who had invited us, that he's like, you know what? No, we can't, because we can't afford to do that. We're actually going through bankruptcy right now. And I can remember cringing. Like, why would he tell people that? But the truth is it actually that was the gateway of freedom. I think when I heard him say that, it was almost like, okay, the mask is off. We can't afford to do this right now because we're filing bankruptcy. And it was like a ripple effect. It was a ripple effect in that until we could be brutally honest with ourselves and each other, we could never be honest with other people. But more importantly, once you are honest and you take that step of just saying where you truly are financially, the whole objective of trying to keep up with XYZ, it goes away. And you can solely focus on your own financial situation and building your own wealth. And then you really don't care what the Joneses are doing. So I thought today I'm going to give you 5 signs that indicate that you may be trying too hard to keep up with the Joneses and what each is costing you. The first being, you're trying to keep up with the Joneses when your excitement for spending money on things in an effort to keep up with them, such as toys and trips, it only leaves you with depression. And what do I mean by that? Well, you are spending as if you are them. But at the end of the day, when you go to hand your credit card over to pay for that trip that they invited you on, it actually makes you kind of cringe inside knowing how much it's going to cost you with interest and everything else. So why are you spending on anything that doesn't bring you joy? Have you lost sight of what the most important trips are to you and your wife and your kids because you're trying too hard to make sure that it's in alignment with what the Joneses are doing? Or do you even know who you are anyways? I see so many people who aren't even sure of their personal style or lifestyle. Like, how do they really want to live their life? And when I talk to people on these clarity calls every day, I commonly hear from people, you know what? I don't even know why we spent what we spent. We should have never done that, dot, dot, dot. And while I try to strip away all of the shame and guilt around personal blame and personal reflection in a negative fashion, I do believe that if we were more aware of what we were doing on the front end, we'd have less self-shame and just guilt on the back end. So for those of you who are going out to spend because you're in a circle of friends that may be in a different income bracket, be aware of that and be okay with knowing who you are, what your likes and desires are, and spend only on those things. You'll find that your excitement to spend will be a lot higher if you stay within the things that you personally love and enjoy doing and spending on. The second thing is you no longer can actually spend, go, and do on those things you desire because they don't match up with the Joneses. The circle you run in doesn't necessarily dictate what your values are. You know, I read this story. I thought it was such an incredible story of a couple, and they were both school teachers. And they had decided early on that they were going to retire at the age of 30, and they were going to spend their time traveling, which is what they valued the most for their one-year-old daughter. So after 8 years, both being school teachers, you know, they both retired as a millionaire. And literally their comments were, you know what? We created a lifestyle that we could live within, and we were okay with it. And while it didn't match those around us, we lived like that for a specific amount of time to get to this goal that we had set for ourselves. And if you think about it, I think we all go through life striving, but do we ever set realistic goals and say, okay, if I hit this, then I will X. Or if we do this, then that will be enough and we can retire. No, because the American dream in and of itself is to keep chasing, get more, do more, have more. But what does it really bring you at the end of the day? Because you're going to have a time that you get to in your life where you say, what was it all for? What was it all for? So when you no longer are spending on things that the Jones are doing, rather you set clear-cut goals for yourself and for your family, and you set out to hit just those goals. You are so laser focused on what matters most. And it speaks to who you are and the authenticity of who you are. I love being around authentic people. I think when I hang around people who are unsure of who they are, it reflects because they don't have their own sense of style. They don't know what they love. They just will go along with what else everyone else says to go, do, say, wear, buy. Instead, it really takes someone special to stand out and say, you know what, I think it's great to go to the Bucks game, but it's just not my thing. Like, I wouldn't spend money on going to be around a bunch of people who are throwing beers behind me and spilling them all over me and yelling to the top of their lungs. Oh, and P.S., sit in the heat for that long. If I can watch it in the comfort of my own home, have food delivered there, have my friends over to my house, and get a way better picture view of the game. So it's just a matter of what is it that you value most and spending money in that specific area. And I think the closer you get to that and the more removed you get from matching it up with the Joneses, the more authentic you feel about yourself. You know, there's something to be said about being authentic with how you spend your money and how you live your life. I believe people notice it, but most importantly, you can lay your head down on your pillow every single night and say to yourself, you know what? That's me. That's what I value. I just had a conversation with a friend of mine and we were talking about, you know, how do you spend money? Like, do you find that you spend it in certain areas based on what your values are? And she said, you know, honestly, for me, like, I love my dogs. So for me, spending $500 a month on my pups, whether it's for dog treats or vet bills, that's my purpose. I love that area of life. And so I have no problem spending that. But to someone else or to the Joneses, they may look and be like, $500 a month on dogs? I would never. But it's not about doing the exact same thing in every single family. It's about finding what your values are in your family, in your personal life, and your bank account and your statement should match up with that. The phrase, this is the third thing. The phrase, we can't afford to do that right now, doesn't exist for you. The truth is, it doesn't matter who you are or what you make, how much money you have coming in. There's always going to be things outside of what you can and cannot afford to do. And it looks different for everyone. So this phrase is so powerful, and not that you have to go around saying it. In fact, I don't even like to say I can't afford to do that. I just say, you know what? That's not one area I would spend money on. This is a perfect example. While I've had plenty of opportunities over the last 15 years to fly on a private jet, I personally think that is such a huge waste of money. I mean, if you could pay a smidgen of the price and fly first class or even coach on an airplane, a public airplane, why would you spend so much money on private transportation? It's just not an area, regardless of how much money I ever made in my life, that I felt was important to me. It wasn't a value to me. So, quite frankly, while I've had access to it, I rarely want to do that because it just is not that important to me. However, I'm a snob when it comes to staying in hotels. So for me, spending at a very nice hotel where I'm going to be waited on and the sheets are amazing and everything about the coffee shop in the hotel, that's important to me. So I always will spend money on the things such as hotel, where I'm staying, what it looks like, what it feels like, how they make me feel. That's what I value. So for me, that's an area that I will splurge on because it is what I value most. There are certain things that I can say I can't afford to do right now. And it doesn't matter how much money I think I have, I still can't afford to do that. And that's a powerful statement to be able to say because it just keeps things in perspective for you. The Joneses are always going to appear to be much better, much higher, but you only see one side of the story. You don't see the amount of debt that they have behind the scenes. You don't see how much credit card debt that they have. You don't see how many homes that they own and how many mortgages they're leveraged. There's so many moving parts to the story. So to look over and compare and be discontent and base your success on theirs is completely a false narrative that you have to eliminate because it only brings with it a lot of debt, a lot of discontentment, a lot of depression, and quite frankly, it's just very inauthentic. So try using the phrase, we can't afford to do that right now. I mean, it's actually, I don't know. Sometimes it's a little fun to say that because it keeps things in perspective for you. I love to have someone to compare things to, and I love to celebrate other people's successes in life. It's probably one of the biggest things I enjoy doing. I love to see when people succeed. And so instead of looking over, there's this catch that you don't want to keep up with the Joneses, but you want to be able to celebrate the Joneses when they have wins. And so I'm always grateful for the people that have been in my life to celebrate my wins. And I want to remind you that part of your success financially comes with you being able to celebrate those around you when they hit milestones or do things in your life that presents an opportunity for you to celebrate them. It goes a long way and it speaks volumes to how you view yourself and your situation. So the fourth way of being that is a true sign that you may be keeping up with the Joneses that I want to share with you is you have no idea what the Joneses make. While you crave to be in the same bracket in regards to spending as the Joneses, you truly have no idea what their income bracket is. And so for the Joneses, if they're bringing in $20,000 a month and spending $10,000 a month on travel, leisure, clothing, well, that's 50% of their income, which I can't imagine they would do that. But if they did, they're spending $10,000 a month on extracurricular activities, and you may be bringing in $10,000 a month. So for you to be spending $10,000 a month because you want to go and do what the Joneses you can't compare apples to apples. So it's not even in the same bracket. So just be aware that even though you see them spending X, you have no idea their income. And in order for you to accurately look and assess a situation, then you have to know, well, yes, they're spending $10,000 a month, but they may be making $100,000 a month and we have no idea. So just know when you're looking and trying to keep up with someone else, all it's going to leave you is exhausted. it's going to be exhausting trying to work as much and bring in as much income to live the same life. And it truly may not be what God has designed for you specifically in this season and in your life. And so being able to stop the noise around you, being able to stay in your lane, not look to the left and right or what someone else may be doing, is the most valuable thing and reward you can give to yourself. Having a posture of gratitude in every season is so valuable. I think any season that I've been in throughout my life, I try to look at the silver lining. And quite frankly, when I've had the least, I've been the most grateful. And the truth be told is because I think you value things a little more than when you have access to more and then you lose sight of reality. And so, regardless of where you are, I want to say, while you have no idea where the Joneses are and what they're making, all you know is what you make and what you spend. And being a good steward of your money is the fastest way to building wealth that I know of. I know in my own personal life, it never matters how much I make. I still look at everything as if, okay, what does this cost? Is it worth it? Does it line up with my values? Is it a good purchase that's going to benefit me long term? And even when I make those purchases or book those trips, I make sure that I value every single moment of it, or it's something that I take care of. This goes way back to when I was a kid. I've always really taken care of my things. It doesn't matter how replaceable they are. I don't want to lose anything. I don't want to, not take care of something as if it's the only thing I have. And so for me, it's always been something that I've tried to instill with our kids is that, it doesn't matter if you can replace something or have the finances to do it. How you take care of the things that you have access to now speaks volume about multiple areas of your life. So just make sure too, even though, it's great to be able to purchase if you lose or break, but take pride in the way you take care of your things for your family or for yourself. So the fourth being, you have no idea what the Jones make. If you are not in their income bracket, you have no business being in their spending bracket either. Someone who makes $10,000 a month for a total household income should not be spending like someone who makes $100,000 a month. You have to compare apples to apples. And if you don't know, don't assume. It's going to continue to leave you exhausted, working from job to job to try to keep up and match your income. And by the way, you don't have to do anything to get an approval from the Joneses because the Joneses have no idea that you're doing this. So stop. The truth is the Joneses want to be friends with you because we're the Duncans or you're the Smiths or whatever your last name is. Take pride in that and set yourself apart by the values that you put into place for your family. And when you put those values down, talk about it as a family and actually sit down and make sure that, look, pull a bank statement. Where are you spending your money every single month? And does it line up with your values? It's truly a sign of a lack of confidence when you cannot come up with the things that are most important for you. And you're basing everything on what someone else is doing, what another family is doing, where they're going, who they're spending, where they're eating, what they're wearing. Instead, create your own sense of style, create your own lifestyle for your family and live into that. I have seen over the last 3 months, more money wasted on just simply a lack of confidence in every area of uniqueness for an individual. And all it's leaving people with is discontentment and depression and debt. So you're so much more than the Joneses, and your personal values and belief are directly tied to your spending and what areas you spend in. So please don't let the Joneses actually steal that from you. Take pride in your situation where you are and live into that. Be grateful. When you can be authentic in your approach to spending and saving, you can become clear with where you are and set true financial goals to live into. It is then and there you will experience true contentment above all. And so as we leave today, I want to challenge each of you. We are about to enter probably the biggest spending holiday of the year between Thanksgiving and Christmas. And it is so tempting, especially with social media, as you see all of the beautiful Christmas decorations and what people are doing in their homes and the Christmas list and the Amazon, here's what I'm buying list. But the truth be told, don't feel the pressure to live into that. I think what you'll find is after the holidays are over, and they will quickly be over, what most will be left with is a nice credit card statement that will be very hard to swallow based on the whole theory of keeping up with the Joneses. So, my hope, my desire for our listeners today is to actually embrace this season. And instead of going into it with a desire to keep up with the Joneses, instead do yourself the biggest blessing, the biggest gift during this holiday season, and sit down and become financially fit. Actually look and see where you are and how you've spent your money in the year 2023, and set some clear-cut values for yourself as to what matters most. And like I said, there's no right or wrong thing around this. You can determine, this is what I love and this is what I value. I personally love to travel. I personally love to stay in really great hotels. I personally love to eat at really great restaurants with excellent service. I don't do fast food. I don't stay in cheap hotels, but I don't need to fly private. I don't need the best of the best in everything. I can do it without a lot of things, but there are certain areas that I value the most, and those are the areas that I splurge in. So for yourself, know what those are. Don't let the Joneses determine those for you. And you'll find going into 2024 that your spending will be a lot less frivolous and more focused on you, and you'll know who you are, and you'll know exactly what you can and cannot afford to do. I know in the last podcast, we shared our trending spending exercise. And if you haven't yet done that, I just want to remind each of you, do a trending spending report for yourself and actually see, how am I spending? What does it cost for me on a daily basis just to get by? What are our core expenses that we have? And I find it fun to do an exercise like this. Ryan and I do it often. We say, okay, what do we actually need to make? And then break it down by the number of days. And you should enter into every single day with at least being able to cover your costs for that day, but more importantly, setting goals to beat that. And it makes you so aware of your spending on frivolous additional Starbucks runs and everything else that you do throughout the day. The objective with trending spending is to always end up in a green day. So you're not red, you're not in the negative for the day. You didn't have something occur that cost you thousands of dollars, but you should see more green days than red with trending spending. So I'd love to share more with the trending spending exercise. We have a worksheet that's downloadable. I would encourage you to download that worksheet. It's on our website, reducemydebts.com, and have a plan for yourself entering into this new year. Exit the theory of keeping up with the Joneses and just keep up with who you are. And that will be the most self-awareness you could possibly have, is knowing what your financial position is, being okay with it, and creating a lifestyle going into 2024 that's affordable. So you have all of your tips to identify if, in fact, you are keeping up with the Joneses. So it ends today. I'm so excited for each of you to really put these into practice. And for those who are just feel overwhelmed with where you are financially, I just want to encourage you again, reach out, set a clarity call with someone on our team. We would love to speak with you and set you up to get you out of debt, because there is a way out. There's no shame or guilt around it. And we really just encourage you to reach out. Ask for help. It truly is the best gift you can give yourself.